What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Fifth Down Territory. And just like Slim Shady, we back again. And it's the boys coming at you. It's Tyler at Stadium Rent HQ. It's Bahookie at Bahookie Montana, and your boy at the L Stewart 503. As always, here Tuesday evenings, 8 weeks out from preseason, guys. 2 months will finally be. Yeah, and then because we always count down to preseason, and then preseason hits, and I'm like, just give me real football. Like I don't want to.
Now there's another 3 weeks until the season actually starts. But I saw something.
I love watching dogs fight for a roster spot. Like, say whatever you want to say. Let the boys play. I still think NFL preseason is a better product than some of the other football products on TV. I don't know if you guys have been following anything else, but I tend to pretty much stick exclusively to NFL.
I work in a bar restaurant, so I caught a couple snippets of some of the end of the UFL games, and it's football. Like if you see it and it's tight at the end of the game, then it's semi interesting. But yeah, I'm with you. It's just the level of play.
I try and watch it, and I'm just like, oh, that was sick, and it just doesn't grab me. I don't know why. It just doesn't do it for me.
It's like there's no stakes. You're not invested.
Yeah.
But for those of you who are degenerates like we are, you'll be closely watching all the depth pieces that are hyped up throughout training camp to see who's actually going to make the roster, see the rookies play a little ball. But we do have some news to talk about, so I guess we can just jump right in. No need to belabor the intro. Training camps here, so it's always notable to see who holds out, who doesn't. People see contract extensions, and missing mandatory camp is usually a big leverage moment for these guys. So here's some notable absentees from camp so far. Man, where's this on my sheet? I literally wrote all of these down today.
I got Hassan Reddick, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, and Amari Cooper. Also, Aaron Rodgers did not show up today.
Thank you. Yeah, I found it. Okay.
We got double booked.
Yeah, we call this money talks, and you got to talk at camp. So let's start with some of the obvious ones. Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins. I don't think anybody's shocked that these guys didn't show up. Brandon Ayuk's been seeking a contract extension.
T. Higgins can't show up. He's technically not a holdout because he hasn't signed his tender. Yeah, that one the Higgins one I kind of see as the most cut and dry one. Either he signs his tag or he doesn't. Because they're working on the Jamar Chase deal right now, and the CD Lamb deal is going to be coming up. So for all of these wide receivers, there's a lot of pressure to get these deals done because the price tag just keeps going up.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the one that wasn't really expected or more of a surprise was the Amari Cooper one. Nobody's really talked about him looking for a new deal. Then all of a sudden we get to mandatory camp. He's not there seeking new deal. Could he be a possible trade candidate?
I think that's the deal that's most likely to get done of the bunch. He's going to turn 30 in 6 days. Yeah. So, and his current deal, he's $20 million a year, which ranks 20th in the league. And the Browns have $13.7 million available in cap space right now, so they do have some room to maneuver. They can also, shift money from different years so that they can still keep that flexibility. I feel like it's honestly a pretty smart move. He's gonna eat some fines here in mandatory minicamp. He was at OTAs, so him and Stefanski know kind of where each other are at here. I believe they were saying that there's been a dialogue between them, and this is pretty much his last chance to make any more money. He was fifth in receiving yards last year. So and it's when the Cowboys traded him, it seemed like the deal was super crazy, but now the way he's like I said, he's the 20th paid. So it's a pretty good deal.
He even played a top 20 player last year. He played higher than that, I think, especially at the end of the season. So
As soon as Joe Flacco took over, things clicked for that whole offense.
Yeah, he looked good still, and the addition of Jerry Jeudy and obviously Elijah Moore. I'm not big on either of those guys. I think Cooper's still clearly the one here, but there are a lot of mouths to feed these days for them. So I guess we'll see how important they think Amari really is when they end up either dishing this contract or not. He was one of my surprises as well. I was a little shocked that he's not there. I think the biggest, probably scariest one is Hassan Reddick, I would say is the most concerning one here. They're saying he's had no contact with Robert Saleh yet. He wants a new contract extension before he ever played a snap. Is this something that they knew before they traded for him? You have to imagine yes. But if not, if they did know, why has it not moved faster?
Saleh said he was expecting him there, so it seems like they're surprised by it.
I think this is a bit of a disconnect. And we've got our resident Eagles fan in the comments here, JC. To me, this is one of those things that could kind of maybe backfire on Howie. Like, you get this deal done, you have somebody take a disgruntled player off your hand, and it doesn't pan out. Like, Howie has a reputation of being a fleecer in the league. And obviously it's worked out really well for the Eagles, but you can imagine that the Jets GM won't be too happy if Hassan doesn't end up playing at all for this team. And if for some reason these contract negotiations continue to sour. So got to hope they get a reasonable deal done sometime sooner rather than later. It also depends on where he wants to be paid in the market. I think he's a bit of an underrated edge rusher, but he's definitely a speed guy. I don't think he's plays like every single down perfectly kind of thing. So, what do you guys think is going to happen with this?
I was thinking it kind of reminds me of the Shady McCoy trade back in the day. I know that was a different regime and whatnot, but he was like not happy to be coming to Buffalo. Like when he I was like, he did an interview about it recently, and he was like several days late showing up. Like he was supposed to go to Buffalo, and he just like didn't want to go.
He just didn't do it.
And well, you know what? Sooner not later, he did, and he was a pretty important player for us. And so I think that this will get worked out at some point. But yeah, I think he's in the last year of a 3-year, $45 million deal. Base salary is 14.25.
So you think we think he wants a raise, obviously. So we think
he was fourth in sacks last year behind T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, and Trey Hendrickson from Cincinnati. So he's paid at he's paid as the 14th ranked edge rusher. So I feel like he could probably negotiate a little bit more.
Like a 2-year, $36 million, like 28 guaranteed, something like that. Like,
yeah, you have to kind of think where he's going to fall in the hierarchy. Like, does he belong in the top 10? I would say yes. Does he belong in the top 5? I don't know. I don't think he's a top 5 guy right now. Not with Garrett, Watt, and yeah. And like I said, a big part of his game is the speed rush move. Like, he's really quick around the edge. He's got bend. The problem with that technique is I feel like it's one of the quickest you age out of because, as you get older, you're just naturally not as flexible, not as fast. And so his move around the edge is that's one of the first things that goes for defensive linemen, especially edge rushers. So we'll have to see how that develops for him and for that team. But if I'm a Jets fan, this is the last thing I want to see. All those videos circulating of Aaron Rodgers having a.
There's always something going on with the Jets during training camp, and always. And this is better than injury news, knock on wood.
Which, knock on wood, again, I feel like we haven't seen a ton of notable injuries in camp.
Oh, they're coming. It's inevitable.
I would say Juju Brents for the Colts is the only one I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't think any crazy notable injuries have happened yet. Real quick, right before we transition, the 2 quick Patriots notes. I know this isn't a Patriots show, but I heard this news today that both Matt Judon and Ramondre Stevenson are quoted to say that they're not far off from an extension. And like
Good washed. I'm not a Ramondre guy.
it depends on the price point, but it's not my biggest, I'm not like wicked hyped about it, but they have made a concerted effort to pay their own people and kind of like take care of their leaders and the people
That's what I think. He's probably like a leader in that locker room at this point, and I think he's probably still got some mileage in him.
Probably some. Just second contracts for running backs is questionable, and then a dude like that who's had some injury problems, and I wouldn't consider to be like a pure rusher, more of like a receiving hybrid back.
Well, it all depends. It all depends on the price point. Like some people are saying he might get like a Josh Jacobs type deal. That might make me throw up. Like I don't want
that would be wild.
If you can't give you can't bump up Calvin Ridley a couple $1 million, but you go give Ramondre 48. Yeah, we got problems. But yeah, I just like I saw that earlier today. Kind of wanted to like make a little note of it. Two big like decently sized name players there. So
yeah.
Gable Stevenson to the Buffalo Bills.
Who the heck is that?
Oh yeah, the WWE
gold medalist wrestler. He's not going to play this year.
Nobody cares.
I was a wrestler, so I care.
Okay.
No NFL fans care. Anyways, we can move on to dissecting
all right.
the AFC
So
North.
yeah, we're gonna move into our we're 8 weeks out. There's 8 divisions in the league. So we're gonna start going division by division, week over week, and talking to you guys about these teams, their record predictions, and some of our hot takes for these teams before we get into like a lot of the real preseason news. We're going to start with the AFC North, probably the most stacked division in football year over year. 4 really good playoff caliber teams. Inevitably, someone will predict their hot take will be that every team in this division makes the playoff. That is yet to happen. But we'll find out. So let's start with the reigning division champs, the Ravens. What do you guys see unfolding here? So this is a team that went to the divisional round last year, lost to the soon-to-be Super Bowl champs by putting up 10 points in that divisional game.
They went to the champ. That was the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, sorry, AFC Championship game. So they lost just 1 game short of the Super Bowl. 10-17 was the final score. So I feel like the defense did a pretty good job holding the Chiefs to 17 points. Is pretty notable. The problem is you lose your defensive coordinator to a head coaching job. I feel like they retained most of their talent. You lost OBJ. You lost some of these guys.
Queen left.
Patrick Queen is the big defensive note, but they did keep Bahookie, I believe is how you pronounce his name, who I really like, defensive tackle, some premier talent there. Obviously, Clowney moved on to the Panthers, so you've lost some pieces here and there, some rotational guys. But what do you think? Do you think they're going to be able to repeat last year?
So I'll just go first. I'll do all 4 things, and then we can move on to the next person. I think they're going to go 12-5. I'm looking at their schedule. It's a tough schedule, but they're the Ravens. They're well coached. They have a good football team. They have Lamar. As long as Lamar can stay healthy, that team's winning 10 plus games. So I have them at 12-5 here. My most polarizing player for this team right now is going to be Zay Flowers. OBJ is gone. Rashad Bateman kind of degressed. You have Mark Andrews coming off an injury. Isaiah likely showed you something, but really the most stable, consistent piece of this passing attack right now is Zay Flowers. And I mean, he has every opportunity to be a beast, I just think if he can hit and kind of turn into what they wanted Hollywood Brown to be, except he can actually catch the football, he could be a really dangerous weapon for this team. Having him being able to stretch the field, using him as a yards after catch guy as well, he can kind of do it all. I know his stature is a little bit smaller, but he has the ability to be able to play anywhere on the field and do anything you really need him to do on the field. So he's my most polarizing player. Like he could possibly like make or break their season come clutch time. My hot take for the Ravens is their newly acquired Derrick Henry rushes for 20 touchdowns this season.
That is a big number.
Big
Like
number.
it.
Big
like
number. 15 isn't that 15
That's
isn't
not
that
hot.
hot of a take.
That's not hot enough. I like
It
it.
wasn't hot enough. 20 is hot boy hours.
You got to
So-
bank that. You
I
got
like
to bank
it.
that
No,
one
that's
before the
good
season
hot take.
starts.
I'm going to be looking at that market exclusively after we're done doing these hot takes. Like Gus Edwards had what, 10 touchdowns last year, rushing touchdown. Like the Ravens running back always has touchdowns that
If they stay healthy.
if they stay healthy, of course. That's the caveat to everything Ravens.
Yeah,
But-
you can say that about everything.
Every hot take could be, if they stay healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. Lamar typically takes away from them. But when you sign Derrick Henry to a 1-year deal, I think that is generally for the purpose to be like, look, Lamar, let's like not have you like mucking it up in the goal line. Like, let's give it to this just Godzilla like creature and let him move through people and do easy things. Also, this is probably the best offensive line Derrick Henry's ever played behind, and most equipped coaching staff that he's ever played with. During his breakout years in his prime, he was paired with Arthur Smith, which was better then, gross now. But yeah, so I think that Derrick Henry not easily, but very well could have 20 rushing touchdowns this season, being on this high explosive, high rated offense. And the best game of the Ravens schedule for me is week 4, Buffalo versus Baltimore in this AFC clash early on the season. You got 2 MVP candidates. It's honestly it might not be as electric as people think because both offenses are going to want to run the football, but both are going to play great defense. It's going to be a hard-nosed, hard-fought, just 1980s style football game, I think, with the caveat of having these explosive playmakers that could change like the course of the game. So
yeah, my takes are going to be a little different than yours, kind of in the same vein. I've got them going 11-6 overall. I think they do take a little bit of a step back from last year. Mark Andrews is my most polarizing player. And this to me is because I just feel like he's becoming less and less of a focal point in this offense. You've seen a lot of really good stuff from Isaiah Likely. I know him and Lamar have a good connection, but Zay Flowers is here. Derrick Henry is here now. Isaiah Likely's ascending. So just like, can he sustain this top 5 tight end conversation? I don't know. I think he's needs to play a full season. I think he needs to be more impactful in the red zone. I've just been looking at his stats, and they're just over the last 2 years not as great as the way people talk about him would lead you to believe. So I think Mark Andrews needs to elevate this offense past what Isaiah Likely can do, or you might be having some real hard conversations about his contract and his time with this team. My hot take. My hot take for this team is Lamar has the lowest rushing yards of his career this year by a significant margin. And I think, there's reports about him losing weight. You bring in a guy like Derrick Henry. I personally think they're going to ask him to run less, especially given how the AFC playoff game went. If Harbaugh and this offensive coordinator learned anything from this, it's that you need to utilize your actual running game and not ask Lamar to carry this team. He's got his 2 MVPs. I think they're going to move off of individual accolades and say, what's going to win us a championship? And I think they're going to ask Lamar to run not at all. I don't think he'll still be a rushing weapon. I just think it's going to be less in the red zone. I think it's going to be less on early downs. I think they're going to ask him to create on key third down moments and ask the team around him to elevate aside from that.
Less design runs essentially as well. Like
I think they'll ask him to scramble less, even if it means The offense is a little more patchy. I think they trust this defense. I think they trust Derrick Henry. And I think they're going to try and scheme ways to have him run significantly less. And then my best game, I think, is going to be Texans-Ravens rematch. Felt like the Texans ran headfirst into a wood chipper last time they played this team. And I think they're going to have this one circled on the schedule as a game to get back to. So I'm hoping it'll be a good offensive matchup come. It's close to the end of the year, too. So both of these teams, I think, are going to be fighting for a good playoff seeding.
Like week 17, isn't it?
It's 17, yeah.
All right, Bahookie, talk Ravens with us.
Yeah, I sat quiet there because I agreed with a lot of the points you guys made, and I wanted to like add to them when I went. So starting from the top, with the record, I also have them 11-6. Probably is one of the top wild card teams. Probably and so then I'll go to most polarizing player. You were talking about Zay Flowers. I was looking at their whole roster and some of the wide receivers on there, and I saw the ones that jumped out to me is questionable are Nelson Aguilar and Rashad Bateman right now. And Rashad Bateman is the one like, what is your role in this offense here? Better figure that out soon. And so that was the one I went with. Hot take, kind of bouncing off what Louie was saying about Isaiah Likely. I said by the end of this year, Likely is tight end 1 for Baltimore. That was the hot take, because for a lot of the same things you said about Mark Andrews, this is a guy I've invested heavily in fantasy stock over the past few years in Dynasty, and it really hasn't paid off the way I expected it to. Like, and he kind of like peaked early as a tight end, and like he looked like he was like ascending, and like his kind of plateaued pretty hard. And Isaiah Likely is like, from the time I saw him play in the Hall of Fame game, I was like, he jumped off the screen then. And I remember when Mark Andrews went down this year, like last year, and immediately thinking like they might not be in as deep of trouble as people think, and they weren't. So yeah, that and that might not really be a bad thing. And you're talking about the best game, Tyler. I tried to stay away from picking Bills games because I'm always going to be watching those. I'm always going to be interested in those ones. That Bills Ravens one is a
real banger.
It really is. But I also went with the Texans Christmas game. I have the Texans winning that game, and those are the main things I think that I wanted to say.
Yeah. My girlfriend's pissed at both of you. Mark Andrews is one of her favorite players, so she's just listening like, fuck you guys.
Put her on the camera.
I did have another thing I wanted to say about the Bills Ravens matchup. Because I think we're going to see this matchup twice. I think we're going to see it then, and I think there's a high probability of the Bills finishing with the 4th seed and the Ravens finishing with the 5 seed. You mentioned them kind of running similar offenses. They're both, I think they both kind of have like similar style quarterbacks. I guess they're both different but similar. And they're going to be running a lot of 2 tight end sets with the Bills with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, and the Ravens with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, both with the younger tight end ready to surpass the older tight end, with a really quality running back behind you with James Cook and Derrick Henry. And they really kind of are in like everyone's trying to do what the Chiefs have been doing, and the problem is everyone's just like 2 or 3 years in their development behind them. Yeah, but yeah, I think that both of those Bills Ravens games will be really, really good.
Word.
All right.
Let's go to the Bengals. Oh, okay. My bad.
2 seconds. Mark Andrews, been in the league since 2018. He has only had one 1,000-yard receiving season, and that came off of a 107 reception season. Since then, he caught 73 passes in 22 for 847 and 5 touchdowns. Last season, 45 receptions.
That was when Lamar had no receivers.
And 6 touchdowns.
All those years Lamar was hurt, wasn't he?
All I'm saying is, you look at him. We talk about him in the same stratosphere as Travis Kelce in that same time span,
With Patrick
2018
Mahomes
on.
healthy.
Travis only has one season less than 1,000 yards, and it was this last one. And he, every season almost of Travis's career is better than Mark Andrews' season, except for one, I believe. So all I'm saying is, if you actually asked me to list the top 5 non-fantasy tight ends, so we're just talking straight tight end production, I don't know that Mark Andrews makes my top 5 right now.
That's fine. Do you want to know her rebuttal?
Yeah.
It's a good thing they can't hear that on the radio.
There's no data speaks louder than that, I guess.
No, it's okay. That was good. That was a good little riff there. We like that. Bahookie, talk to us about the Bengals, because we kind of took all your talking points, I feel like.
Yeah, go first.
Yeah, all right. I'm with it. So yeah, Bengals, I have is for the record, 14-3, maybe 15-2. I'm gonna say 14-3 is more likely. We were kind of talking about this pre-show, but I say they probably lose to the Chiefs in week 2. That's also like my best game on the regular season schedule. I also have another one that's kind of attached to my hot take. But in the regular season, I have that Chiefs game, which I expect the Chiefs to win early in the season. And where else was I going? I'm losing my place. And the Ravens. So I expect them to split with the Ravens. And then there's like I said, there's probably another loss in there, but this is a very favorable schedule for this team. And we'll see what the wide receiver core looks like, and hopefully Joe Burrow stays healthy through the season. So moving into most polarizing player, I had 3 of them listed here. T Higgins with the holdout situation, Burrow being injured 2 of the 4 years, but the one I decided to circle was the career plotter Zach Moss.
Chase Brown season, boys.
Because I mean he was drafted by Buffalo, and he never really had a good opportunity in Buffalo. We traded him for Nyheim Hines. Nyheim Hines gets in a jet ski accident and barely plays. And Zach Moss resuscitated his career last year while Jonathan Taylor was out in a couple games. Jonathan Taylor was still in the lineup. He was really productive, and going to be a lot more team friendly deal than Joe Mixon was. We'll see what kind of a drop off they get there. My hot take. This is a kind of a 2-parter. I was saying that I have them getting the 1 seed, and I have them getting bounced in the divisional round by Buffalo after Buffalo beats Baltimore in the wild card round.
So Baltimore's getting the Bills with no true wide receiver 1 are bouncing both the Ravens and the Bengals in back-to-back divisional games.
That was my hot take.
They're gonna beat the Chiefs and the 49ers in the next 2 games after that, huh?
No. They're gonna CJ Stroud is gonna beat the Chiefs, and then they're gonna beat CJ Stroud in the AFC.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'd be pissed, but at this point, I'm not mad about that prediction. Okay, go next, Tyler.
Yeah, so I also have the Bengals 14-3. Like you said, the schedule is that of a last place team in their division last year, and none of that was due to talent. Most of it was due to injury to Joe Burrow and them just never really getting on the same page. Hi, buddy. And this is just a very favorable schedule that they have going on. And the most polarizing player I actually did go with Joe Burrow. That dude came into camp looking like Anakin Skywalker from Revenge of the Sith. You don't want to mess with that man. I'll tell you that right now. You don't want to mess with him if he's healthy.
That's a bad man.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's coming back to balance the force, or bring balance.
The Joe flow.
The Joe flow is here to bring balance to the league and knock Patrick Mahomes off his high horse. So my hot take for them kind of mixes into that being 14-3. You're probably pretty close to the 1 seed. I have them being the 1 seed, and I think this team is very dangerous. They have Jamar Chase, obviously, T. Higgins, if he signs his franchise tender, very important. But they drafted a dude named Jermaine Burton, who is a lot better on the field than where they drafted him to be. But that was due to off the field issues. If he's good mentally and gets on the field, he's going to be an issue for them. I think Zach Moss is going to lose his job by week 3 to Chase Brown. No, but for real though, they'll probably split carries. I have them pretty much split carries. I just have Chase Brown being the much more effective runner. And
how much of it is it you being a Chase Brown fan, and how much of it is it you being a Zach Moss hater?
I'm on both ends of that spectrum. I really like Chase Brown. I really don't like Zach Moss.
The perfect storm.
Yeah, I hear you. The narrative churning in your head.
Just they're so far away from me, so it was the easiest decision that I could make. And
stick to your guns. I'm with it. I like it.
I'm gonna say that even if he gets like 9 yards of carry for the rest of his career, like sticking on my gun. And then what did I say here? The best game for the Bengals is going to be week 8 when the Bengals play Philadelphia. I just think that this is a team that's this is 2 teams that have gone to the Super Bowl and lost in the past 3 years, but a lot of both of their cores are still intact. So it just should be one of those classic games that a lot of people might not talk about depending on the rest of the matchups for the week, but should definitely be talked about because Jalen Hurts versus Joe Burrow, that's showtime, baby. You know, that's getting mad views. Hi, buddy. It's the 5th down territory, dog. Yeah, that's it. Louie, you can go.
I have the Bengals going 12-5. I think I have a little bit more pessimistic view on this team. I'm a little worried about Joe Burrow's injury from last year and this team being notoriously slow to start the season, as Bahookie so eloquently put it before our show. I think there's a realistic chance they start like 0-2, 0-3, depending on just how this chemistry goes.
I've seen it before. It's not a crazy take.
Yeah, then they'll win 14.
Yeah, they've done it before, and then they just run the gauntlet. So I think there's a chance this team starts slow and everybody's out on them, and then all of a sudden here they come. Jamar Chase looks like, the best receiver in the league, which maybe he is, and they just say, frick it, time to pass the ball, and they get the job done. I think my hot take, so my most polarizing player is also Zach Moss. I think one of the big concerns, right? So Joe Mixon just came to the Texans. I'm a Texans fan, but I'm going to speak on some of the knocks I think that exist in Joe Mixon's game. He was almost unplayable on passing downs. He's not a good chipping back. He's not a good blocking back. And I think part of that is what has led to how bad this offense was last year. Even when Jake Browning came in, there were moments where the pocket just looked completely unplayable. So I think one of the things that these backs have to be able to do, I'm not saying Chase Brown isn't dynamic. How does Chase Brown play in pass protection? And I think what's going to protect Zach Moss's timeshare here as a plotter, as we call it, is I think Zach Moss is an okay passing protect back. So I think that's really going to be the question to this game. Is I don't think they need him to be a 1,000-yard rusher. I think if he rushes for 700 yards and Chase Brown rushes for 650 yards, I think his role is perfectly safe as long as he keeps Joe Burrow upright in the pocket. And that's going to be a big part of this game, I think, of their game this year. My hot take is that Burrow's going to lead the league in passing yards. I don't think that's super spicy, but coming off a couple injury-riddled seasons, I really think they're going to lean a lot on the passing game here, and I think he's going to lead by a healthy 200 to 300-yard margin, and possibly even be MVP discussion depending on touchdown ratios and things like that.
Your take was mild at best. Mild.
I don't know what hot takes there are for this team. I just didn't feel like I had any.
That was medium. That was
inspiration. I just feel like I'm going to do what I expect them to do.
That
All right,
might have been gold.
you want a hot take? Here's a hot take. I don't think
Spicy.
T. Higgins is a top 20 receiver this year. There you go.
We're getting warmer.
All right.
So what about? I got another one for you. What about Bengals have 3 receivers to have over 1,000 yards this year?
Who's their third receiver?
Jermaine Burton, baby. Jamar Chase in the slot. Jermaine Burton, T. Higgins on the outside. No Tyler Boyd. He's gone. A lot of targets to fill there.
That would be absolutely absurd for a rookie to get 1,000 yards as a third receiver. That would qualify as a hot take.
Here's the thing, though. You can't just spew a bad take and be like, look, it's a hot take. Like, that's just a bad take, in my opinion.
Well, I think you guys were telling me that when I was talking about Puka Nacua last year, too.
No, I don't think we said bad take. I think
but Cooper
it's
Kupp
definitely a different situation, but I remember it happening.
Okay. Anyway, and my game to watch for this is Bengals Chargers, I think, is my big game to watch here. If Herbert can do a little return to form, I think it'll be a really good game. And I think it's going to be a tale of two styles. Whereas I think the Bengals are going to be really pass heavy. I think the Chargers are going to be really run heavy. So I think we're going to see an old school versus new school football mentality. And I think that just makes for good games. And then I'm going to go ahead and lead off since everybody else has got to steal my thunder. And we're going to move to the Steelers.
Way of the road.
So shock. I've got the Steelers going 9-8 because the Steelers can't do anything but go 9-8. It's their bread and butter. They signed on for 3 more years of 9-8. So I hope everybody enjoys them making a wild card. Maybe. I don't even know if 9-8 gets you a wild card at this point. The AFC is so stacked. I think they probably missed the playoffs, actually. That's my hot take. Maybe not, because I have a different hot take. George Pickens is my most polarizing player. He's a great 2. Can he be a 1?
Don't steal my hot take.
I think he's got some separation issues. He's a great spec catch guy. He's a very aggressive and great yak guy. I just don't know that Russell Wilson or Justin Fields really have the accuracy to make him the receiver he could be. I think he's going to struggle a little bit this year. My hot take is that Pat Freiermuth benefits the most from this shifting offensive style. I think he's a top 5 tight end this year for the Steelers.
Wow.
You want him spicy?
Top 5, but he has Pat Freiermuth.
I think Pat Freiermuth has a great career year for this. You want a hot take?
I did. I am much happier with this one.
I just think I think he's going to cater more to the style of Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, whoever's playing. I just think they like that tight end safety blanket a little bit more. And I think without Deontay Johnson, there's a good target share opened up here. Obviously, if Roman Wilson comes in, I don't think he's going to hit the ground running. So I think Pat Freiermuth will actually lead this team in receiving yards. That's my hot take.
Whew.
I'd like that.
Yowza. Okay. What's your best game?
My best game is 2 games, and it's Steelers-Browns. Everybody always loves a good Steelers-Brown matchup. They play in a 3-week span, both games. So look at it as one game, and whoever wins the first, can they win the second? I think this is truly one of the sport's great rivalries right now. These two teams freaking hate each other.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. I'll pop in since we'll keep in the rotation. Bahookie will start off the last team. I have them going 9-8 as well. My most polarizing player is Justin Fields. You traded a conditional 5th in 2026 for him, and then you got Russell Wilson for $1 million deal this year. Neither one of them has really. You can't look at their contract or their situation and be like, oh, they're good in the starting job. Like, that's either one of their starting jobs to take. And if the Steelers struggle and Justin Fields is kind of ready, that would be the best thing around Justin Fields since he came into the league. Because the Bears were just mess organizationally until last year, realistically. And they were still a couple of pieces away. I know they got Caleb Williams now, not the point. Justin Fields goes to a Steelers offense that was supporting Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky last year. I personally think that Fields could come in and play well in this style offense. Now, my hot take completely differs from your hot take, Louie. I have George Pickens going for, let me see here. Yeah, I have him going for 1,400 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. I actually have that in my projections. That's what I got after I did out all the numbers. And I have Pat Fryermuth with 328 yards and 4 touchdowns. So yeah, we're on polar opposite sides of that. I just don't see like the target share really going to him because like Arthur Smith is there. Last year, Pat Fryermuth had a 9.3% target share. If you look at the Falcons, give me 1 second to pull this up. Kyle Pitts last year had a 17% target share, but is a much more athletic player. But it's not really one of those target shares you're looking at and being like, oh, Arthur Smith loves his tight ends. Arthur Smith more loves his tight end 3 than he does his tight end 1. So
let me ask you just right.
For sure.
I think we're doing good on time, so I'm going to ask a question.
Yeah,
you think George Pickens can be a 1,400-yard receiver in the same scheme that produced a 900-yard Drake London, who I think is a better player than George Pickens?
With Desmond Ridder, yes. You if you put Russell Wilson in that offense, I think Drake London hits 1,400 yards, yes. Because she's throwing balls that are actually catchable. I actually have Drake London this year going for 1,500 yards and 8 touchdowns. So I have them both in very similar spots. But so like I have Pickens with a 26.5% target share for 137 targets for a 64% catch percentage. Last year it was, let me see here. It was 59, but again, you had Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mitch Trubisky throwing him passes. Now you have either Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, both of which have shown they can support a wide receiver 1. Last year he had 18.1 yards per reception. I actually knocked that down a bit because I raised the catch percentage a little higher, so it's at 16.4, and with 88 receptions that gives me 1,442 yards. And Cortland Sutton last year, who was Russell Wilson's wide receiver 1, had, I believe it was double-digit touchdowns and was a pretty damn good deep threat and red zone threat for that team with Russell Wilson. Even though a lot of their other pieces didn't work, I think that Cortland Sutton could do, or I'm sorry, George Pickens could do a lot of those same things. Yeah, Cortland Sutton had 10 touchdowns last year. So I don't think it's that far out of the realm of possibilities for Pickens to go 1,410. And the best game I have on their schedule is Pittsburgh versus the Jets. You get those matchups: Sauce Gardner, George Pickens, which I would imagine Sauce would get the better of them for the most part. Pickens might have one of those, breakaway plays for a big play. Otherwise, it's Russell Wilson, maybe Justin Fields versus Aaron Rodgers. Two coaches or two defenses that are pretty spectacular as well, typically going against each other. You have Sauce Gardner and you have TJ Watt kind of doing their thing. So it just seems like a way better game than it looks like on paper. So that's why I picked that. Bahookie, go for it.
Yeah, I like that last point with that Jets game. That was one of the ones I was going through my list and I saw. I think I would like the Jets on paper a little bit, like at least going into it. The Jets for some reason always play really well against Pittsburgh too.
Yeah.
Even when the Jets are bad, like that's a team that like they've historically done well against.
Yeah.
So I'll go backwards here. I'll do my best game. I was saying pre-show. The week 1 matchup at Atlanta with who we're assuming Russell Wilson versus Kirk Cousins in these two brand new systems here. We have the Arthur Smith revenge game.
He doesn't get revenge.
He loves to hate on me. This is a whole year ago. when we were doing these, I talked about revenge games, and it literally he's brought it up every single show since. It feels like
you were doing it like almost subconsciously, like you weren't even like realizing it.
it was
Sometimes
a bit. I was doing the bit every week.
it was good. Now we're carrying it over.
It lives on for another year. You should be happy. You started it.
Started movement.
And yeah, it's just I don't know what to expect out of this game at all. It's a week oneer, so like literally anything can happen. That Jets game was probably my second choice, honestly, but I feel like I'm a little my degree of confidence in what'll happen. I'm a little more confident in the Jets. Moving up to most polarizing player, the Russ Fields one, which Tyler talked about, is an obvious candidate. I have that written down. The other one that I'm going to select is the Harris Warren. And I've got a lot of Jaylen Warren stocks in dynasty leagues, and he's been on a trajectory like this. I remember they had a game last year. I can't remember who they were playing, but he had this absolutely vicious stiff arm on this guy, and it reminded me of. I remember saying I was with a Steelers fan watching it. It reminded me of when Rashad White had that crazy stiff arm in that against Seattle and Germany. And I remember seeing both of those and I remember that after that stiff arm that Rashad White they put out, I was like, wow, you know what that is? That's Leonard Fournette losing his job. and sure enough, it was. And then I saw Jaylen Warren do the same thing last year, and I said, oh, you know what that is? That's Najee Harris losing his job.
Damn.
And he hasn't quite lost it yet. He's still the lead back in this running back room, but I don't feel entirely confident that that's going to carry out this year. I think Jaylen Warren's play style is going to fit very well into Arthur Smith's system. And then my hot take ties into the record. I have this team going 8-9. This being Tomlin's first losing season. And I guess this is not that hot of a take. It's kind of a cheap hot take to have. Because Louie's like someone says this every year. And I guess he's right about that. It's just, we were talking about the end of their schedule is absolutely brutal. And, really and so they need to get off to a decent start here. And I just don't know what to expect out of Russell Wilson or Justin Fields or whatever in this new Arthur Smith system right here. So I feel like this year doesn't set up quite as well as past years. I mean, you think that going in every year, I guess they have better quarterback play than they have in years past. But there's just too many unknowns for me with them, in my opinion, to call them a team who's going to finish with a winning record.
I get that. Real quick about Jaylen Warren. Do you guys remember when he laid that block that was like a very clean block and he got his like game check taken away from him?
He hits. Yeah. He
got fined his whole game check for like a clean block. It was absolutely ridiculous. We're just like, huh? You want to let him sack the quarterback? You interested in that? Would you like that? Yeah, I'd be kind of split if Jaylen Warren took over Najee's spot. I feel like I have more Warren shares in leagues, but the leagues I have Najee shares in are like leagues that are important to me. Mm-hmm. So like, you know what I mean? It's that dichotomy you have when you have freaking 57 fantasy leagues.
Yeah.
I think it's more than end up being like.
And that number is not going down anytime soon.
They will never shrink because they're all dynasty.
It's just like a spider. It's just a spider web.
Yeah, dude. It'll be like a family tree. How many people I know from fantasy football? I'll never leave a league, and they're all dynasty leagues, so I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm cooked. All right.
So I'm up next with the next one. Is the Browns?
Yeah, the Browns.
All right, running it. I'll do this one in regular order. I have the Browns last in this division at 7-10.
Hot.
And so moving into the most polarizing players here. Deshaun Watson's the easy one here. I'm gonna go with Elijah Moore. Another guy like what are you? What are you doing here? I don't know.
Who do you know here?
Literally, Jerry Jeudy stepping in here. Amari Cooper is gonna get his extension.
What is
I don't. Yeah. Hot take, last in the division and significantly underachieving. And Watson being done as a starter after this season.
Woo! Woo!
Oh, wow. Done as a starter.
We're spicy hot now.
That's crazy.
Now we're getting to like people crying on hot wings level territory. They owe him a lot of money still.
The Broncos owe Russell Wilson a lot of money still too.
They're just gonna have to take it on the chin, just lose a couple teeth and recover.
Doesn't that sound like the Browns?
Yeah, you're right. Should have kept Baker Mayfield, guys. Should have kept Baker Mayfield.
I still hate this Deshaun Watson trade so much, and I'm gonna continue to talk about it because it deserves to be. It really does. And
he's like,
wow. I really wish the Haslams nothing but the worst. I'm sorry.
Me personally,
maybe
I really
that's
like the trade.
Yeah,
Me personally, I really like the trade. So
the fact that they did that, they really that was an Aaron Judge grand slam.
No, I know a trade I really liked. I liked when you guys traded DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. That was fun.
And the second that turned into Ross Black, who's not on the team anymore, so shut the frick up. I'm intricately familiar with the details of that trade. I like when you let a all-timer walk.
You guys are too happy over there. I just wanted to bring it up. That
was me getting spicy with it. I don't believe in Deshaun Watson, clearly. Best game, I had I had two of them written here. The week oneer versus Dallas, Tom Brady's first game announcing. I think a lot of people are going to be tuning into that one. Week 17 versus Miami. Mostly because I think the Browns are pretty much going to be like cooked in week 17, and this is a perfect game for them to play spoiler to the Dolphins. And in a game that the Dolphins should win.
Blake's Dolphins hate coming right back to the Florida.
I know.
It's at Cleveland. It's at Cleveland.
Dolphins, and he hates Zach Moss.
Yes.
Well, hear me out though, because it's week 17 at Cleveland, and I don't think Tua has ever won a game when the temperature is below 50 degrees. That's like below 60
it's
degrees.
The perfect game for Deshaun Watson to play well, so that they don't get rid of him next season, because he had that one good. He was like, he was starting to play better towards the end of the year. And you're just like,
this could be like Miami's like Tennessee game, the inexplicable loss. That was the worst loss of the season for him. And I remember seeing that loss. I think it was like a Thursday nighter or something. And
it was a Monday night doubleheader with like the Giants, because the Giants beat the Packers that night too, and everybody's parlays got cooked in that night. I'm just like, yo, what?
I was working that night, and I had like just got home from work and saw like the end of that game, and the Dolphins were up too, and the Titans came back. It was like 28-27, wasn't it? Something to that effect?
Yeah. They were down like 23 to like 3, and then came something crazy.
Billy Jeans.
All right. So
that's what I got. You guys can take it from here.
Word. I have the Browns going 8-9 as well, or 8-9, not 7-10. The schedule's tough. I also don't believe in Deshaun Watson. That's that pretty much sums it up. Don't believe in Deshaun Watson. So that's that. My most polarizing player is Nick Chubb. Is Nick Chubb going to be just like everybody else, or is Nick Chubb going to be something that he's been his entire life and be like a freaking alien and rebound off this just one of the most gruesome leg injuries I've ever witnessed live? They were like, "We're not going to show you this," and I was like, "I'm going to go look that up and see it again," and regret that I did it 5 minutes later. Or is he going to be Adrian Peterson or Jamal Charles and come back from like this gruesome leg injury and like be a beast with like and not miss any time? Or is he going to be the 28-year-old, 27-year-old running back who's had absolutely dominant carry to like rushing shares and like has massive mileage on his legs? I personally hope that he is the former, the AP style person and comes out and shits on people because that'd be so sick to watch. Because Nick Chubb's just like that dude you want to root for. He's the complete opposite of Deshaun Watson. Like, I want Nick Chubb to succeed so much, just as much as I want Deshaun Watson not to succeed. So, like, that's kind of how I feel there. My hot take for the Browns is that I didn't get to this one writing it down on the show sheet, so I'm just like going off the top of the dome here. I want to say Myles Garrett has 20 sacks, but like that doesn't seem like a hot enough take. That seems like Louie's mild take from earlier. So like
crazy.
All right, screw it. Nick Chubb comes back, has like 1,200 yards rushing, and like looks like a beast. 10 touchdown, like looks like Nick Chubb again. You're just like, that was sick. Comeback player of the year, baby. And the best game on the schedule, I'm looking at week 9 against the Chargers, because these are two teams that I just think they're gonna try and want to play the same. This like hard-nosed like running style. We're gonna win on defense. We have elite defenders all over both sides of the field, and each team is just like has like a really good coach, which is weird for me to say when I'm talking about the Chargers and the Browns, but like it's true this time. So yeah, just give me that like Justin Herbert, maybe like PJ Walker. Nah, who's there now? Who's there? Nah, give me Justin Herbert versus Jameis Winston, baby.
Disgusting.
Throwing up dubs, eating those. Yeah. So that's my Browns preview. I hope that was electric enough for you guys.
I had fun.
I had a good time.
I also have the Browns going 9-8. Shocker, I know. I feel like everybody's just kind of down and out on this team. I don't feel like they're going to be better this year. I feel like last year really was their best chance, and that was with Joe Flacco.
They got smashed up by your boys.
Yeah, my most polarizing player is also Nick Chubb. Unfortunately, I just don't. He is the best player on that team. You could argue Myles Garrett. I just think Nick Chubb really has carried this offense for a while. He's probably second best. I'd probably still give it to Myles. So before everybody comes at me, top 3 player on this team.
That was
I was going to let him keep going.
My hot take is that Jerome Ford is a starter before the end of the season.
Okay.
I think the wear and tear on Nick Chubb is going to catch up. I think his efficiency is going to drop. I think he's going to be a little scared to move laterally just because of the damage sustained to that knee. I want to be very clear. Like, I'm not going to blame him.
Yeah.
But once you do that, he's talked about his struggle with just coming back from this injury, like the mental will to do it because he's done it before. I don't know that anybody has that miracle in them twice to come back and be the best rusher in the league. And I don't think he's going to be top 20 anymore. I'm not buying Nick Chubb anywhere in any league for fantasy purposes, but just for straight up purposes, I don't think he's going to survive contact the same. I think he'll take more of a Tyler Lockett approach, which isn't what you want in a running back. And I think Jerome Ford's shown the willingness to get down and dirty, and I think he's going to really finish the season out with more yards than Nick Chubb does. And I think he'll be the starter. And then, so that's kind of my hot take mixed with my most polarizing player. And my best game on the schedule. So it just occurred to me that I actually gave you the wrong best game for the Steelers. So from the Browns, my best game is Steelers-Browns. For the Steelers, my best game is Steelers-Raiders. Because I think Max Crosby might be coming for that TJ Watt tier of conversation. And I think seeing them go head-to-head is going to make for some great TV if you like defense, which I do.
Yeah. No.
So,
I don't disagree with you. Like that, like I kind of took the Nick Chubb hot take like off the top of my head. Like I do kind of agree with what you're saying. It's more of like the rooting for the dude, you know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to be optimistic till I see it on the field and be like, it doesn't look the way I want.
I think he's gonna look slow, and I think he's gonna be a little shy to contact, which is just it doesn't play for his running style. So sometimes it's just what the game is, you know. People don't always come back the same, and that's a really sad reality of football that we don't talk about a lot. But there's been a lot of really great players who have not looked the same after injuries like that. Everybody wants to say AP. He is a freak of nature exception to this rule.
I know.
We had a conversation about that earlier this week.
Jamal Charles did it as well, but it hurt him real bad later on in his career. He got hurt. He tore his ACL, I'm pretty sure, like his third year. And then he came back the fourth year, had a big year. Then he only lasted like 2-3 more seasons after that.
He's also younger than the Nick Chubb is now.
Absolutely.
And I think, I mean, like they said he only tore his ACL, I think, right? But
it looked like
he did not look like just an ACL. He exploded every ligament in that knee. I'm convinced. And I just think, you know, it's a tough loss. He's one of my favorite players. He's just to watch. Such a great running back. So here's to hoping I'm wrong. I'd love to be wrong on this hot take, but I think the days of Nick Chubb, his best are behind him as far as running backs go.
Makes sense.
And that's time. So that's the AFC North. I think next week we're gonna do the AFC East. Get into the we'll get into that one.
We'll talk for like 30 minutes each. Let nobody else speak.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely budget for that one. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday. We might have a couple special guests coming up, so stay tuned. We're trying to get some cool talent on for you guys. Keep your ears out. Follow us on social media at Stadium Rant HQ. Check out our website, stadiumrant.com, newsletters, articles, galleries, all kinds of stuff for you guys. So make sure to check it out and have a great Tuesday. And as always, we'll see you next week.
Deuces.